All right, we are in the very last episode in our series, Pivot, Pause, or Rebuild Your Business. I would love to hear from you all. What have you taken away from this? Right? Tag me, tell me in the comments, tell me in via DM if you're a private person. But it's always nice to hear what people are getting from these episodes. Okay. All right, we're on the last one. And today we're talking about the after. We basically went through before, during, and after, even though there were 4 episodes. The first one was really more encouragement and awareness. And this one is really about, for those of you who paused or took a break, right? Maybe you went back and got a job, maybe you took a sabbatical, whatever you might have done. And now you're returning, right? And restarting. This is definitely going to go into some things about that. I also want to talk about if you feel like you're stuck in the transition, we have what we call the transition trap, right? And I want to give you some warnings to heed, some things to consider. Okay. So, the first thing I want you to understand is to understand what your priority is. And emphasis on priority with a Y, not priority with an S, right? Each person's priority when they are in a pivot is different. Okay. For my people who are, I won't even go through every single one, right? But I just want you to think about what your priority is, right? Is it clarity? Again, when I say priority, it doesn't mean it's the only goal that you have. It is the number one goal, right? Remember, we talked about the difference between the goal that you have and the problem that you have, right? Don't lump them together because they're different, right? And when if you separate them, then you make better decisions about how to invest your money, your time, your energy, etc. Okay. So maybe it is clarity. I really want to get clear about fill in the blank. Maybe it is, oh, I really want to shake this fear, right? Maybe it is, I want to stabilize cash flow, right? Maybe fill in the blank with whatever it might be. Okay. But the key is that you understand that you're aware of that and accepting of that. Remember, awareness and acceptance are not the same thing, right? And you have decided, oh, my number one focus is to stabilize my cash flow. Let's just use that one as an example. The reason why this matters is because growth happens in stages, right? What you do to start a business is different than what you do to grow a business. And what you do to grow a business is different than what you do to scale a business. We all know that, right? So if you are in the pre-scale phase, you need to be using a pre-scale strategy, right? A lot of times we're trying to use scaling strategies when we are indeed not scaling. Why? Because we want to be scaling. So of course we should be using scaling strategies. You should be using the strategies that are appropriate for the stage of business that you're in. I cannot emphasize that enough. You will see the quickest growth when you align the strategy with the season that you're in. Okay. All right, so that's the first thing I want you to remember. The other thing is that when you're in the seasons of transition, I want you to increase your structure. Now, don't panic because if you're burnt out, you're like, girl, guess what I'm not going to do? Increase anything. Okay. When I say increase the structure, I'm not saying volume, I'm not saying input. Okay. Sometimes we do need to increase volume and input, but that varies based on the circumstance. Okay. And even if we were increasing volume or input, it doesn't have to be 20 videos or 20 hours of this. Increase could simply mean going from 2 to 4, 1 to 2, right? But I'm actually not talking about volume here. I'm actually talking about structure. When you hear me say structure, time, duration, frequency, location, things like that, right? And the reason why this matters when you're in a pivot is because a lot of times fear creeps in, right? There's a lot of fear that creeps in because oftentimes we're doing something new or we've just been living in a fear-based identity for so long, right? Even though we wouldn't say that, you wouldn't catch it. If somebody would have told me that I was afraid, I'd have been like, your mama is afraid. How about that? How about you get your mama and you, no, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. I didn't play. I wouldn't tell nobody that. Okay. I do my best. I do my best. Okay. So because we don't often see it as fear, right? We often solve it in the wrong way. But fear is what causes us, our performance to not be at the level, right, that we really want it to be. Okay. And when we increase your structure, when you're doing something new, which is when fear is likely to creep up the most, right? When you're in loss or when you're doing something new, fear is typically at its highest. Structure helps us overcome that fear. It keeps us moving in the right direction, help us not plateau or stall or go backwards. Okay. We use what we call compound psychology, right? So here's a great example, right? And this is, you can read it in the book, The Compound Effect, right? But basically, one of the things that the book talks about, it doesn't talk about compound psychology. That's something that we've developed in our camp. But the gist of the compound effect is, let me use this as an example. If someone gave you two options and said, I'll give you $3 million right now, okay, or I'll give you a penny that compounds over the next 30 days, what are 99% of the people on the planet going to take? That 3 million, right? Because why would a penny? What do you mean? Why are you even over here, bro? Find you something to do. Okay. But what we don't realize, okay, this is like the thing about long term versus short term thinking. A penny that compounds looks like this. Okay. So when we say compounds, it just means it doubles every day. Okay. So on day two, you only got 2 cents, right? When you get to day five, you only got 16 cents. It doesn't look like we didn't make a good choice if we would have chose that penny, right? You get to day 10, you got $5. Okay. You get to day 15, you got $163. Okay. When you get to day 20, guess what? When you go from day 15, which is $163, to day 20, only 5 days, it jumps up to $5,242. Okay. And what happens if you double 5,000? It goes to 10,000. Now we're on day 21. Let's jump down to day 25. We're at $167,000. It still don't even look like we made a good choice if we would have chosen a penny, because I got 3 million. But by the time you get to day 31, okay, we are at $10 million. And I'm sorry, I think I told you from compound day for 30 days, but I meant 31. Okay. But even if we had done 30 days, you would still end up with more than $3 million. Okay. But I actually meant 31 days, 1 month, because we are currently in October and it has 31 months or 31 days. And by the end of that 31 days, you will have gotten $10 million. This is what we help our clients institute both within themselves and their own performance, right? Get you out of this addiction to achievement, but also in their business, right? Because you and the business are different. You're not the same. You're connected, but you're not the same. And you need to separate yourself because you each have different needs. I'm not going to go there because it's taking me off 20 whole minutes. Okay. But I say all of that to say, increase your structure. It'll help you overcome the fear. Okay. It'll help you begin to leverage compound psychology without even knowing what it is, because I'm not going to go into all the details there. It'll just bore you to death and I will nerd out and be happy. And you'll be like, why am I listening to this podcast? Okay. All right. The other thing that I want to just throw out there is that strategy and then speed, not the other way around. A lot of times we're trying to run back to something, right? We're trying to regain momentum as quickly as possible, right? But if you use compound psychology, what you realize, okay, and I'm just going to say it slow because I know this is hard for people. The goal is consistency, not intensity. Consistency, not intensity. What we're talking about is be strategic and then speed. Get clear and then add value. Okay. So the fact that you're burnt out and tired and it's like, I can't do everything that I want to do, great. That's the lesson we're supposed to be learning here. This is not about speed and it's not about intensity. I know everybody likes to quote money loves speed. Don't get me started because I go, first of all, add some content to number one. A lot of people are speeding in the wrong direction. Okay. Speeding without strategy is just dumb. It's just wasted time, wasted energy. Okay. What we're actually looking for is clarity, not to be confused with certainty, right? Because certainty is what keeps you stalled. Your need for certainty, your need to know what's going to happen actually will slow you down. That actually will not help you speed up. We're not looking for certainty. Certainty is not a real thing. Okay. That's our need for safety. What we're actually looking for is clarity, which we can achieve. Okay. 90 days of consistency can get you back into momentum. A lot of times we think it takes a long time. It doesn't. It really doesn't. The problem is we're doing the wrong thing, and therefore it takes us a long time. But it actually doesn't take that long. Now, to be clear, I am not saying that you're going to be wealthy in 90 days. Okay. Remember, we're in a season of stabilizing when we're in a season of pivoting, stabilizing an offer, stabilizing our money, stabilizing our capacity, etc. So in 90 days, your whole world can be different. That's why we have a 90-day program. Okay. All right. So here's the transition trap that I mentioned for those of you who are either feeling stuck or don't want to get stuck in this process. There are essentially 5 things that I would say tend to keep people stuck in a pivot, and the emotional side of the pivot makes it last longer than it needs to. Okay. So the first one is just clarity, not being clear about what you want, not being clear how to get what you want. Just a lack of direction overall is one of the biggest things that happens. Okay. The second one is resistance. This is the one that people are not really as familiar with. They can feel it, but they can't name it. And a lot of times this looks like being really clear about what you don't want. This is the challenge of being a seasoned entrepreneur, which is what makes the pre-scale phase different than the starting phase, because it can feel like you're starting over. You're not. Okay. A lot of people, when they're starting a business, yeah, they got some nerves, but they also have adrenaline and excitement. They got much more positive feelings many times. But when you are a seasoned entrepreneur too much, you know what it's going to take. All of that information can create analysis paralysis, it can create overthinking, it can create fear, i.e., it can create resistance because I don't want to work that hard. I don't want to do this. I don't want to. And resistance create delays, i.e., the transition trap. The third one is capacity, right? The number of people who I see who are 100% committed while simultaneously being tired. Like what we talk about in our campus, you have to learn how to balance your ambition with your capacity, right? You got big goals, but you don't have unlimited capacity. You have capacity is just your resources, your time, your money, your energy, the people support that you have, the knowledge that you have, et cetera, et cetera. Your resources are not unlimited, even though your ambition is, right? And so what you have to learn to do is manage your ambition with your capacity. Okay. The fourth one is just fear. Again, more, you know how much it's going to take, right? And it creates a lot of fear. Can I do it again? The fifth one is attachment. When you need something to work, when you need something to happen, right, it creates this pressure, okay, that we don't actually thrive in. Attachment is not your friend. The goal is to be 100% committed, right, to yourself, to your goals, to whatever, while being 100% detached. And I know you might be thinking, girl, that is not even a real thing. I know it doesn't feel like a real thing. And it is not easy to achieve, to be clear, especially in the beginning. But it is the goal. The goal is to be attached to little to nothing. There should be I don't mean, oh, I'm only attached to 5 things. 5 is too many. Okay. Committed, right? Definitely committed to 5 things, more than 5 things, likely, but not attached. Okay. So here's some questions I want you to ask yourself as we're wrapping up this series. Okay. Do you have the right support? If you, again, specifically, if you're feeling stuck in a transition, right? You've been here too long, it's taking too long, it's slow. Um, it's not, are you supported? It is, do you have the right support? Are you hiring business coaches and joining masterminds and buying courses and all these different things that are external solutions, right? When you need an internal solution because you have an internal problem, right? Are you trying to carry it all alone? Are you getting the right kind of support, whether it be emotional or strategic or whatever, right? These are things to ask yourself if you are feeling stuck. The other one is, have you made a decision? A lot of times I see people who have desires, but they actually haven't made a decision. I'm tired of this, and I'm tired of this, and I'm tired of this. Okay. I can hear desire in there. What I don't hear is, I made the decision to do And what keeps us from making the decision is I don't know how I'm gonna lose the weight. I don't know how I'm gonna make the money. I don't know how I'm gonna hire the blah blah blah. It's don't worry about the how. Make the commitment has to come first. The commitment, the decision precedes the change that you want. It's not the other way around. The change doesn't come first. It's the commitment that comes first. Okay. The last one I would just say is where is your focus? Right. And a lot of times we feel focused because we're working hard. Right. It's like, I'm working hard. I didn't say where's your effort. I said where's your focus? And you know where your focus is based on the results that you're getting. If you don't like the results that you're getting, that means your focus is in the wrong place. That is one of the biggest indications when people are like, oh no, I'm very focused. Got it. Then talk to me about where we're at. I don't want you to have to be stuck in what we call the messy middle, what we call the wilderness season. A lot of us will go through a wilderness season, right? But I spent a lot of time studying the story of Moses and the Israelites. Right? For those of you who are spiritual, you will at least heard of this story. And I just could not for the life of me understand. I read it and then read it again and then talked to the Lord because I was just like, it felt very applicable. All of my clients are in transition. Guess what? The Israelites are in transition. So I'm like, man, if I could get this, I could help my clients. I could help. Right. And I'm just like, why did it take? Because the journey to the promised land was only about 14 days, a little bit less. But they turned a 14-day journey into a 40-year journey. And that is what I see us doing with our goals, right? So many of us want to make impact. We want to change the world. But 2 years later, 5 years later, 10 years later, we've made some impact, right? We haven't done nothing. But the effort that we're putting in does not match the impact that we could make in that time frame, right? It's the same thing. It's like, why is it taking us so long to get out of this messy season? Why is it taking us so long to reach our goals? That's what I was studying that story for. And it is a big part of how I came up with all of these different components. Oh, compound psychology and addiction to achievement and entrepreneur trauma. There are all these forces that are very unique to people who are in transition, right? This pre-scale phase, right? You need to be getting support from people who are good at this phase, right? There are a lot of coaches, okay? So I'm using myself as an example. My coach is a great coach. He should not be serving people in transition, okay? Because he is not the guy. When you are in transition, you need a little bit of patience. You need a little bit more guidance. You need a little bit more step by step. It's like I'm already in overwhelm. I'm already making too many decisions. Simplify it. Oh, that's not his coaching style. Doesn't make him a bad person, but he has to serve the right person in order for them to get. I could just go into a whole thing about coach hurt. Okay. And so one of the most powerful things that you can do in this season, specifically if you're feeling stuck, right? And you're wanting to do things, rebuild the foundation the right way, is make sure you're getting the right support. All right. So I've told you guys before, right? We have a couple of bonuses that we offer. I think I shared this maybe in the second episode. I can't remember. I'll be making up stuff. Okay. In the second episode, I talked a little bit about if people, maybe you got exactly what you needed from this series and you're good to go, and that's fine, like by all means. But I also always want to make an invitation for people who are like, nah, this was helpful. I still got questions about this, or I still need this, whatever. If that is you, first of all, just DM me. Okay. We do have a couple of bonuses that are coming on. And the coupon code is birthday, right? If you see a link around this video, it'll share a little bit about our program. But the part that I want to make sure that I emphasize is that it is time bound, right? I'm throwing in some bonuses because my birthday is on the 2nd. Shout out to my Scorpios, right? So there are 2 bonuses that end on the 2nd, right? There's a one-on-one call. There's an extra month in the program, right? And then there's another bonus that ends on the 9th. Okay. So make sure you check those out. DM me if you have questions. Otherwise, I will see you in the next set of episodes. Peace.